Hello and welcome, Inspired Podcast community. This is your new episode. My name is Caroline, and my today's guest is Susan Watson, and I'm so happy that you are here. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, thank you for saying yes to our interview. And I would love to introduce you to the audience. You are, I think I read this on your profile. You are a PGI consultant for the Proctor Gallagher Institute as well. And you you do breath work. And I love the name or the quote on your website that says something like, oh, I forgot, something like breath is your life. No, how was it? How was this
Oh
quote?
gosh, I use so many quotes, Caroline.
Oh,
I can't remember what one it was that went onto the website. But it's something like you say. It's like breath is your life, or something like that, isn't it? I
yeah.
can't remember what the exact quote was because I love a quote. I love quotes. I think we can learn so much from quotes.
Yes, it's so true. And I love that you teach people how to breathe and also deeply, because most of the people are in anxiety or in a rush and they don't take the time to do this. So we are here now for our little interview, and I prepared questions for you. Let me take a look.
Amazing.
Oh, yes. What inspired you to start helping people transition from suffering to abundance, and how did your journey begin?
So this is I'll go a little bit personal here and tell you because it's part of my story. So it would have been about 3.5 years ago. We were still in lockdown. You know, the world was trying to transition through that period, and I had a husband. I had a dog grooming business that was in the back garden. So I worked from home effectively. Prior to that, I was an HR manager, but decided to retrain. And opened up a dog grooming studio in my back garden and was very successful. That grew massively within the space of like 6 months. That was fully booked. So a successful business and a successful marriage, or so it seemed. And I remember having coffee with my husband in the kitchen, and then he said, right, that's me, I'm away, I'm leaving. And I was like, oh, right, okay, where are you going? No, he's like, no, I'm leaving. And I said, but where? Thinking he was going to the gym or going to his parents or, just taking the dogs out. But what he meant was he was leaving. And that was the end of my marriage. That was that. And even to this day, I did not see that coming. I didn't see it at all. And I've reflected back on that many a time, and even as I said, still did not see any signs. So completely out of the blue, completely leaving me devastated on so many levels. And at the time, I had started a course with Bob Proctor. It was Bob created the material, and then he had consultants that delivered. So just prior to that, I had started a course with Bob Proctor, which is called Thinking into Results. And when I was transitioning and trying to come to terms with what was happening in my personal life, and I knew I needed a distraction. So I thought, okay, I'm going to put everything, I'm going to jump head first into this, because I had been diagnosed with PTSD. I didn't want to go down the road of medication, but I wanted to heal. I didn't want to be that person that hates their ex-husband and hates society I didn't want that. So that was when I dived into the course. And then shortly after that, I was like, I want to do this. I found my calling. I found what it is that I loved. So that was when I decided to be a consultant with Bob Proctor and coach that material. So that was, but prior to that, I had always, like, I'd read The Secret, as many people did, and just thought, wow, this is is this how people can actually live? So that opened my eyes to another possibility in how to live. And then since then, my growth has brought in doing a specific type of breath work called holotropic breathing. And I've also trained to be a clinical hypnotherapist. I have also trained to become an advanced quantum energy practitioner. So from there, it's just expanded. And what I want to do is, I think what happened for me, Caroline, was what happened in my personal life was the catapult for me to really understand who I was and what I was able to create. And I was able to move out of fear, doubts, and worry and start to live and create a life that was the opposite of fear, doubt, and worry. So, what drives me is helping other people to realize that there is a different way, and how we've been programmed to live isn't necessarily the right way. And it's like, I've always, since I was a young child, I have always believed that we're meant to live an abundant life. Like, I would look at my mom and think, why do you work so hard? You don't enjoy life. But I was a child. So, sometimes I look back and I think, God, I was actually quite insightful as a child. I actually had it right. And then I guess as I started to grow older, I was, my parents would just say, well, this is how life is. And, it was almost like, you've had the best years of your life as a child. Now, welcome to reality. But I've always known, or always felt, there was something more. And I didn't know what it was. And then this has given me the what it was. This is what it is. So I work with people and help them to overcome and live a different life. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. I understand. And I love what you shared. Your own transition led you to the new purpose or calling. You heard your calling, you
Absolutely.
followed the inner voice. I love that so much. Thank you so much. And of
You're
course, I have
welcome.
another question for
Yeah,
you. Can
absolutely.
you share a key principle or practice that you believe is essential for experiencing life as it was intended?
Yeah. I think there's so many things that I could say here, but I feel very drawn to just to, like, we are majority of people. And it's like, when I remember when Bob taught me, he would say 90% of people don't think. Yet on the same hand, he said, but we have over 70,000 thoughts a day. And I said, but Bob, I'm quite confused, because if we have 70,000 thoughts a day, but you've just said that 97% of people don't think, that my mind, my logical mind doesn't understand. That doesn't make sense. And what he then explained was 97% of people don't think because we have been programmed to think what other people think. So we just accept what they say, which is why we all conform, which is why we all, we become our parents, and we believe what our parents believe, and our parents believe what their parents believe. So I think, to answer your question, it's knowing and understanding that you have the ability to create your own thoughts, that you have the ability to tap in to lots of different minds. I think we believe that we only have one mind. We actually have a number of different minds. And once we can tap into them, we realize that the mind that we have been working with up until now, our human logical mind, actually isn't serving us the way that we want it to serve us. And we have the ability to tap into a creative mind and to start thinking for ourselves and to start customizing our own life using our thoughts. And it's not like, Bob would always say, like, and we hear this a lot, and so many of the leaders within this material, and the thought leaders, and that current and past, we all say the same thing. that it all starts from thought. And if we change our thoughts, we get to change our life.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about we create our own thoughts. Also, we choose our thoughts in order to create better results, right? Oh,
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely. And where Bob was coming from by saying 97% of people don't think, I'm like, and now I understand it's that we don't, we think what other people have taught us to think. So we're not, most people don't use the faculties that we were given as humans. And it's such a shame that we're just, actually, I've often said that I think we're quite a lazy species because we don't use the faculties that we have. We just accept what we've been told and just live our life based on that, where there's so much potential, so much out there for us to grab hold of to change our reality.
Wow, that's so true. Thank you
Yeah,
for sharing, and also your story when you began to realize this, that life isn't static, so to say,
yeah,
and it's dynamic. It's all about change. I love that, and
for
we can
sure.
choose to think in a different way every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have the ability, like if you're facing something in life, I think the other thing is to know that you are the creator of your life because of your thoughts. So if you're experiencing something that you don't like, you're experience what I would call contrast, and you're like, okay, I'm in this and I don't have what I want, and you're in that contrast, you're in lack. Actually, you created it. That's been a huge pivotal moment for me, is that through my thoughts, my beliefs, and my behaviors, I created what my life is. So if I created it, then I get to uncreate it and recreate something else.
Oh, that's so true. And also about responsibility, for example, when you realize this, then you take full
Oh,
responsibility and you change it. What do you
exactly.
think?
Exactly. And a lot of people say, but I didn't ask to have this in my life. And I'm like, well, we did. And it's maybe, it's maybe been from a collective consciousness that has created that. And people, I think it's hard sometimes, it was for me to accept that I created, that period in my life that my marriage failed or stopped, however we want to phrase it. And I was like, I didn't create that. And it's like, now that I take responsibility that I did, it also gives me my power back. So now I've accepted that I created it, which means, okay, if I created that, then what else can I create?
Yes. Wow, this is so amazing. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing.
Oh,
Let's have a look. What common challenges do people face when moving from a state of suffering to abundance, and how do you guide them through these obstacles?
The one thing I think is belief. People, we don't know any better. It's often said that we're hypnotized because we've accepted life as it is, and because we see this as our truth, as normal. The transition to say, I want to find a different way. It's belief and it's self-worth, self knowing that you're enough to actually have more. I find so many people that I work with, they don't believe that they're worthy of having more, and we look at people who have more than us and we put them on a pedestal and think, well, they're special, they're gifted, they're different than me. The reality is we're not. We're all the same. There are people that come into this world that have different, perhaps they've got a different chromosome or whatever, but generally speaking, we all come in equal. We're all equal. And then it's how other people have used their faculties in order to create more. So I know for me, when I was going through the transition, what helped me was just having somebody like my mentor. I've worked with a mentor like for years now, because to get from where I was to where I am, I could never have done that on my own. And having that mentor there for me to go, but I don't understand. I don't, explain this, explain that to me. I think the one thing that I get all of my clients to do is repetition. Repetition is key because that's how we learn. We
Yes.
learn all about life by repetition, by our parents constantly telling us this is how it is. And then everybody, our environment was also saying the same thing because we're all doing the same thing. We're all following the same path. So having like flooding your mind with a different pattern to change the your body mind connection is absolute key, so that we can start to change our belief system. Does that make sense, Caroline?
Absolutely, I understand. So you talked about the thoughts and the 70,000 thoughts per day, and most people think they think, but they are not. It's mental activity. I know you did not mention it, but it is just
For sure.
activity in their mind, and thinking is the higher mental faculty if you use it properly, or let's say focused,
Absolutely.
maybe concentrated, then you can achieve so much more than you ever believed would be true, right? Oh my
Absolutely,
goodness.
absolutely. Because we're held back by our belief systems, especially about who we are. You know, we don't. I thoroughly believe that I am a spiritual being in this human vessel to experience life. Now, if you'd have asked me that 3 years ago, I'd have thought you're crazy. I'm not that. But I have done, like, I read and my coaching, and I listen, and that's I've changed that belief. So it's, and that it can take as long or as short as we wish, because it's a belief. If you believe that the process will take a long time, then it will take a long time. And I think once you start to see the benefits and understand the power that you have, then you start to, your belief system strengthens, doesn't it? And then you can start actually, what else can I do? What else am I capable of?
Yes, that's so true. You start somewhere, you have to start. It's the start that stops most people. So I'm happy that you started.
Yeah,
And I love what you said about, if you have asked me 3 years ago, the same is for me concerning so many things in
yeah,
self-development, and also with this podcast, because this was a huge step outside my comfort zone. And now I'm so happy that we can talk, that we can
exactly. Exactly.
explain.
It's the fear, isn't it, when you start something new? It's the fear because you haven't done it before. But many of us run away from that fear because we're led to believe that the emotions that we have that are connected to fear are bad. We're led to believe that if you feel something and you're not used to feeling it, whether you're nervous or you've got that fear, then we go, oh no, that's not right. I shouldn't be feeling fear. But of course, we need to feel fear. We need to feel fear to grow and to expand. And if you hadn't gone beyond your fears and apprehensions and nervousness around starting a podcast, we wouldn't be here.
Yes, that's so true. I'm so happy about this,
Yeah.
to get to know all those beautiful people like yourself as
Thank
well.
you.
And
Absolutely.
I have another question for you. How do
Amazing.
you measure success in your work? And can you share a story of a significant transformation you've witnessed?
How do I measure success? When somebody reaches out to work with me, generally they are filled with fear and doubt and worry. They are filled with, they're wanting to grow, they want growth, they want something different from life. But for mainly, see, I believe we only operate out of fear or love. It's one or the other. Generally people will be in fear when they reach out to me, because most people do operate from fear based thoughts and beliefs. So when somebody has that fear, how I measure success is when they actually start believing in themselves. Their language will change when they're working with me. They'll start to know and believe that they are capable. It's when you get that voice message to say, oh my God, Suze, guess what's happened? I have done this, this happened, that happened. or they have that aha moment and they're filled with joy, you know, that for me, and that the period of time that takes for each person is so different. It differs from person to person. Let me think of a story that I can tell you about transformation. There was, gosh, I've got so many. I'm thinking, what one can I share with you? There was, I had a client and they were wanting to transcend above their ego. They were looking to transcend and go beyond their ego, because like most people, the ego is our master. So they wanted to switch out that, you know, from the ego being their master to being their servant. And we managed to do that. It was a slow process, but once we got momentum, changed so quickly, to the point where they created their business, they launched their business, and they, you know, they actually, this might not seem right at the time, but they actually left their marriage. But that was something, you know, we can deem that as, oh my God, my marriage has to end for me to get success. But their marriage was not serving them. It was a loveless marriage. They got to the point where they'd launched their business, were getting huge success quickly. They were believing that their thoughts were just their thoughts. It's just noise going on in their head. So they were able not to create from that place. But they ended their marriage. It was very amicable. It was part of both of their growth and evolution, and I was able to support that person through that period, to the point where their business is evolving and it's growing, and it's like, okay, now what? So it's like, okay, now what can I do? So rather than, oh my gosh, I don't, you know, living in fear and doubt and worry, it's like, now what can I do? What can I create? What can I bring in? So that's that, and I'm still in contact with that client, and we still have regular sessions, because when you're in a period of growth, I do think it's the chances of you being successful in that period of growth is heightened when you have somebody there to hold space for you, when you have somebody there to hold you, you know, like not physically, but just to hold that mental process that you're going through in that transition.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. I love what you said also about the growth aspect. Sometimes or often we have to let go of things that are not serving us or
For
our
sure.
goals. That's true.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
do. We
and
need to
this
let
leads
go.
me to, yeah, it is all about setting a worthy ideal. We learned this. And now my question about your goals. Do you set goals for yourself or intentions? And what is or was a goal of yours for 2024?
So I don't set goals, because when I first started working with Bob did set goals, and he would say, okay, what's your goal? Set a goal. And I did set a goal. I set a number of goals, with Bob. But how I see it now is that I feel a goal, when we talk about goals, it's like you're striving to get something. How I believe it now is that everything's already mine. I just need to call it in. I need to bring that into me, because whatever it is that I want to experience in this life is mine already, because I'm not detached
Separate.
from anything. I'm
Mhm.
not separate. Thank you. I'm not separate from anything. So everything's already there. So I don't need a goal. I just need to welcome it in. So for me, like, and then it starts the work of using your energy, you know, using your thoughts, your feelings, etc. It's working on all of that to bring that into my experience, because it's here already. So I feel a goal, when we say a goal, is very masculine, and it would insinuate that it isn't mine. So, and then for this year, what were my goals? My goals for this year, they were very personal goals. I was going through, I've had a spiritual awakening this year, which it wasn't necessarily something that I was aiming for, but I knew I knew when I started when I started engaging in a lot more spiritual based activities that it was inevitable. So I've had a spiritual awakening. I'm probably just coming out the tail end of it at the moment. And my other personal goals were I wanted to improve my health this year. I was extremely, I am healthy, and I always was healthy, but years ago I loved running, I loved doing weight training, and I made all my own food. Like a lot of the food I ate was from scratch, and I kind of stopped that. So I wanted to get that back. So I've started running again. I've not started weight training as such, but I'm enjoying running, and I'm enjoying welcoming in different health and different health goals. That's coming in. I'm learning more about natural based products. So that is something that I wanted to do this year to set for my health goals. So yeah, a lot of it has been very personal goals rather than any business related goals.
Yes, I understand. And
Yeah.
of course, when you improve in one area, all the other areas are improved as well. So you say you don't set a financial goal or business goal, but it's all growing at the same time.
Absolutely. You're so right there, Caroline. And it's a really good point that, you can focus. I think we focus so much on what isn't working that we forget the things that are working. And when we focus on more and give that our attention, the other things will automatically catch up. So
Yes.
yeah, that's a good point.
Thank you so much. And I have one last question for you. And it is, of course, when people reach out to you after listening to this episode, and please reach out to Suzanne. She's amazing. Do you have special offers and services for the Inspired podcast community?
So I offer one program at the moment. For me, keeping it simple. So I have one program at the moment, and so I have a Facebook community called the Manifesting Hub. So keeping it simple, I have the Manifesting Hub Academy. At the moment, people get to work with me one-to-one. So there's no group, it's just you and me one-to-one. And you would do that for 6 months. You work with me for 6 months, one-to-one. And therefore, it can be very customized. Whether we're going to have a session on breathwork, it automatically comes with breathwork sessions, but we might want to do hypnosis. We might want to do specific breathwork. I believe that if you come to me to work with me to improve your life, to build your business, whatever it may be, we need to make sure that your nervous system is in the best place, because it doesn't matter what I say. If you're in such fear, stress, and worry, I could say anything to you and you won't take it in. So sometimes we need to settle your nervous system, and then we can progress. But in answer to your question, because I'm digressing here, in answer to your question, for that, I'm giving £1,000 off the fee to work for that 6-month program. So anybody that reaches out to me to work with me for 6 months, Caroline, through yourself, through your community, will receive £1,000 off.
Oh, that sounds very generous. Thank you so much for sharing and also for your offer. Please reach out to Suzanne. She's amazing. I put the links in the show notes, of course, or you reach out to me and I introduce you, or how do you call it? I I make the contact here.
Of course,
We
yeah.
are connected already. Thank you so much for our interview. And now it's
Thank
time
you.
for your last message to the audience, please.
Wherever you are, just know that you can have heaven on earth, and life, you are in charge of the life. You're the captain of your ship. You might not realize that now, but when you have the ability, you just need to learn how to use the skills and the faculties that you already have. Use them in the correct way and your life will be unrecognizable. And it's there for everybody. Everybody can do this. Everybody has the ability to have heaven on earth.
Thank you so much. This is the best message. Please reach out to Suzanne, and thank you for our interview.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you. See
Thank
you in the
you.
next episode. Bye.